You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening. My name is Peter Basserman, Chairman of Branford Inland Wetland Commission. It is 7 o'clock on October 10th, 2024. The meeting is being conducted on the Zoom platform in accordance with Public Act 22-3. BCTV is recording this evening, so please make yourself visible, especially when talking. The agenda for tonight's meeting was filed on October 8th. That replaces the draft agenda filed on October 4th. The meeting material for this evening is also on the town's website and is listed, and the Dropbox is listed on the agenda. Does the town staff have any changes to this evening's agenda?
No.
Okay. Let's see, we have, well, we can do the roll call. Commissioner Boda?
Commissioner Boda, present.
Commissioner Meinson? Oh, she's connecting. Commissioner Amrod?
Commissioner Amrod, present.
Commissioner Begeman?
Commissioner Begeman, present.
Commissioner Goklowski?
Commissioner Goklowski, present.
Commissioner Meinson?
Commissioner Meinson, present.
Okay, I think I've got everybody. Commissioner Papatonis is not with us yet. We have a quorum for this evening's meeting. So participation is certainly encouraged and everybody can vote. First up on the agenda is our regular meeting minutes of September 26th. They were mailed out.
Real quick, I just want to acknowledge that Commissioner Papatonis is present.
Oh, good to know. I don't, oh, okay, number 16, got it. Minutes for September 26th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that
Commissioner
motion.
Basserman, I'll make a motion to approve. Who was that?
Commissioner Papatonis. I'll make the
Okay,
motion to
I'll
approve the
second that.
minutes.
I will second that. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
Commissioner Begeman, abstain.
Okay. October 5th, 2024, special meeting site walk minutes. Short and sweet.
Commissioner Amrod, motion to approve the special meeting site walk minutes for Saturday, October 5th, 2024.
This is Commissioner Boda, second.
Any further discussion? Abstentions? Anybody want to abstain?
Commissioner
Commissioner
Begeman.
Goklowski, I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Commissioner Papatonis, I wasn't there, abstain.
Any denials? Okay, minutes approved. We have first up in an application for review, Inland Wetland 240902, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 15, 17 Beacon Hill Road. It's tabled. The public hearing is to be opened November 14th, as discussed at the last meeting. Jamie, any reason why that 14th date does not look good?
Nope, we're on task. The applicant knows they need to get their notices out, and it's just there as a reminder for everyone, and for any interested parties looking at our agenda.
Okay. Next up, Inland Wetland 240903, 5 Pin Oak Road, Drive. Construct a 20,000 square foot building with associated site improvements. There was a site walk last Saturday and a gorgeous Saturday morning. Any update, Jamie, from the material that was either sent out or as a result of the site walk discussion?
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent, we have received revised plans and a revised drainage report, predominantly in response to, I believe, comments from the town engineer, but also some things that were observed during the site walk. And I'll let the applicant speak more to that and clarify if I got anything wrong.
Floor is yours, Mr. Preddy.
Okay, good evening. Jim Preddy, Criscolo Engineering, 420 East Main Street in Branford. Yes, it was a beautiful morning. We had a site walk on Saturday, complete with bow hunter coming out of the woods. I'm going to go to the screen share. Let's see. Share. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not on my regular computer, so I'm struggling.
Yeah, we can see the survey.
In any event, this is the property at 5 Pin Oak. This is the cul-de-sac where we parked, and then there's a driveway down to a town sewer pumping station at the bottom over here in this little fence area. And you can see the path that's cleared along the sewer route at the bottom of the hill that the sewer authority keeps clear on a semi-regular basis. But the site generally slopes from Pin Oak down to that sewer easement at the bottom of the hill. This is, I believe, one of the last undeveloped commercial lots in this Woodlands on 95 development. Next door is Nick Fisher's place that you guys had reviewed previously. And over here is a BH care facility on the other side of the cul-de-sac. Let's see. Did the screen change?
No.
I got to do these one at a time, huh? That's terrible. All right. Let's see. If I go back to here. I want to go to the grading plan. So it's a 20,000 square foot pre-engineered metal building, very similar to all the other ones in this development. We are creating, a level area here. So there's some slope grading at the top and some slope grading at the bottom. And then we are, in an effort to try to reduce any erosion potential, we designed a very low, flat, long detention basin at the bottom of the hill where we're outletting the storm drainage instead of trying to outlet it at the top and then create some sort of a channel to the bottom. There is a outlet control structure and a pipe crossing that sewer that goes through there. That was one of the town engineer's comments. We wanted to check the inverts and make sure we don't have a conflict, and we do not. I did move this a little bit from our site walk. I think originally the outlet was further this way and it was right in front of a big tree. And so I tried to split the difference between the two large trees that were in the vicinity and pulled it back away from the property line as much as we could fit, with still having a riprap plunge pool and some boulders there to break the energy. Well, quite frankly, also right off site is an old remnants of an old stone wall, which would also break any energy at that point. But again, by then we're into a pretty flat area. We are going to be getting utilities from Sycamore Way, gas, water, and sewer that goes down to this pump station. That was another thing that I addressed with the town engineer. He wanted to make sure that we were tributary toward this pump station because most of these other properties are not, and they need to run that pump station. This will be a flex unit space, so it'll be divided into most likely 4 units. At least we have it shown at least in the architecturals as 4 units right now. But 20,000 is the number. Sidewalk on this side for emergency egress path. We are showing some landscaping along the street side on Sycamore and in between the doors here. Dumpster at the end. Guardrail at the top. So basically, I mean, they won't be. There's not room for outdoor storage here. It's basically a building and parking. It's not a place where they're going to have, materials stored outside. There's not that kind of room right off the pavement. We're going to have a guardrail and then the slope down to the basin. The slope we're going to plant with a conservation erosion control mix, and then the basin will be planted with the New England detention basin mix for, I think it says for wet sites or moist sites. I can also, just for this detail here that's on the plan, kind of shows the area where the basin is at the bottom, the outlet control structure, the pipe crossing, and then the head wall. Again, we're outletting it down at the lower level to try to eliminate as much erosion potential as possible by having it outlet on any slopes. Just for your, I'm going to go back to one thing here.
Ms. Ferretti, this is Commissioner Boda. Is the intention that the water is infiltrating in the basin and that the outfall is just for overflow events?
The intention is there will be some infiltration. In fact, that was one of the things that the town engineer was concerned about. If we use it as a sediment trap, you're going to have those fines in there, but we're going to over excavate the basin temporarily and then basically carve out 2 feet at the end and fill it back up with sand and gravel up to the design elevation so that there will be infiltration at the bottom of that basin. So yeah, during probably the majority of the smaller storms, there may be little to no discharge there. So anyway, this is what the just like similar to all the other buildings in the area, for what that's worth. I guess I will take any questions or put anything back up. I got to do them one at a time. So
This is Commissioner Bassett. Mr. Pretty, any material being brought in or any material leaving the site?
we think that there may be a little bit of material leaving the site because of the flat area they have to carve out on that slope. And we have to soften the slopes to, meet the 3-to-1 zoning regulation. So we think that some of the material will need to go away, but not a lot. We think it's pretty close.
And did you mention, missed it if you did, how are we treating the roof gutters and leaders?
They are tied into this system. And then we have I could go back. The roof drains are tied. We have, we obviously have a drainage system to collect all the parking areas around here. We are tying it together again because of the slopes here. We're trying to get the water to the bottom of the hill, but we do have an oil water separator and an offline situation here in this corner before it goes down to the detention basin.
Jamie Frederick and Wetland Agent. I saw the note regarding the over excavation for the temporary sediment trap. Yes. I didn't see where it indicated that sand gravel would be brought in for that layer. Is that noted somewhere? I didn't read everything in the site plan, so I may have missed it.
I thought we did add that note in. We did add an additional plan for erosion control that we separated out, basically, just to clarify. Zoning frequently asks for that, but where's the note? Installation check. Basin to be graded 2 feet below as indicated. It might have been in my response to John, but anyway, that's the intent. I'll add the notes to the plan to make it clearer, but yeah, and at the end of the construction project, when the slopes have been stabilized, the intent is that they would go back in and take out any of the silts and then get it up to the design grade using clean sand and gravel.
And then also on the topic of stormwater, again, I may have missed it. Has a water quality volume calculation been provided? And is the water quality volume being retained on site?
We're definitely retaining it, although, like I said, with the bottom of that basin being able to infiltrate the vast majority of the smaller storms that cover that volume, won't it really show any discharge. Looking to see if it's in this report. I know I did look at that volume. I think I sent that also to John. I could send that to you, Jamie.
Okay. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to look at the plans until today, so I'm surprised commenting tonight. And then the other comment that I kind of hinted on before is in regards to landscaping. It's a pretty wooded site currently, and it looks like it's basically proposed to be just herbaceous vegetation in the non impervious areas. I don't know if I think this is something where generally the commission would be looking for some woody vegetation, and I get that that's a little challenging with the sewer easement.
So we can, Jim Preddy again. We will have to plant street trees for the Planning and Zoning Commission when we get there, for sure. Along the edge of the road. But what we can do is, I'm hesitant to plant anything larger on these slopes, but at the bottom around this basin, at various intervals, we could plant some, additional shrub materials there.
Mr. Purdy, can you talk a little bit about, so we're looking at the overall finished site plan. Can you talk about the construction and sediment and erosion control protection during construction?
Absolutely. So here we're showing a silt fence down along this edge here. The intention here is that they would, and then also another piece of silt fence here, that they would build this piece first into the detention basin, use this as a trap, do some temporary diversion swales on either side here, along where we're blending back to grade over here, and then over here we've actually showed that being graded out into there to prevent any water from going onto the neighboring property. But so that would get done first before they got into the rest of this hill. So that, again, because we're at the bottom of the hill, the intent is to use this as a trap. Then they would have to grade up, level this off, and then put the building up. So a lot of most of the earthwork will have to be done really before they get into this building.
This is Commissioner Boda. Will there be a need for stockpiling? I don't see.
We have it's hard to see on here, but there is a stockpile area here it's noted on the other plan for topsoil in that corner. We were trying to get it up here it's a little bit flatter up in this area, and it's the farthest away and within our construction limits. So the thought was to tuck it up into this corner. They could still get this drainage in and leave it there probably the longest amount of time.
I was wondering if that's what that was. I don't think it's labeled, so that might be worth double checking. And also kind of on
Yeah.
that note, double check inlet protection. It kind of looks like you might have a symbol there, but it looks like it's the symbol for a proposed catch basin. So I'm not like in the existing Sycamore Way. I mean, certainly it seems like these catch basins and then the proposed one should have.
Yeah. We have, inlet protection details on the
Just make sure it's called out
erosion
on the
notice.
plans.
Yes. All the catch basins on site temporarily will be, and then these two in the road will have to be also.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, you got the updated material today or yesterday?
I think it might have been on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I think so. Yeah.
And normally we would, at this point, I guess, look at a staff report. Is the idea that we would look at that staff report at the next meeting?
Yeah, I plan on having one ready. I started drafting one today, but didn't quite have it done. And also, I know the town engineer still needs to take a look at the revised plans as well.
Excuse me for just a second. Sorry, Commissioner Boda, I need a minute. There's enough commissioners that you can continue, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be back in a minute.
And Jamie, that's fair. This is one of the few projects where I don't have people breathing down my neck. So if we need to go to the next meeting, that's fine.
I would like to see that information that was missing in the report with the added of the gravel and the sand. So it would make, when the approval process comes to fruition, we would be able to, not have any doubts. And I'm sure you'll handle it with no problems. You always do.
Yes.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent. That's also
something.
something that I was looking for John to review and comment on. But I think that information definitely is good to have on here, so that way whoever's doing the work knows what the intention is.
Jim Preddy again, and that's fine. We'll address all these again. It's not that critical that today is. I don't need to push today. And the other thing is, then we could also select some plant materials for the shrubs around the basin.
Great. Any other commission comments?
Commissioner Begeman. So to the east of the retention basin, is there much land being disturbed on that between there and the sewer right of way?
Let me get this picture back up. So we are pretty close to the edge of that easement with with our grading activities here, but that easement that quite honestly gets cleared once or twice a year it actually creates a natural break. We're not doing anything other than this drainage outlet. We're not doing anything on the east side of that sewer easement.
Okay. And this, Commissioner Begeman, I thought when I looked at this earlier today, there's some sort of remediation of wetlands further to the east. Is that?
Oh, Jamie Frederick and the Wetland agent. That was on a reference map because at the last meeting there was a question about off-site wetlands.
Okay.
One minute, let me pull that up. So that's from a different project. So that's part of a different permit. Let me pull that up 1 minute.
Yeah, there was a remediation as part of the neighboring project, I believe.
Yeah, so there was a question about the off-site water course that might be to the rear of this property. So the remediation area we're talking about is, can everyone see the map right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So this portion is on 5 Pin Oak. The rest of it's on the property that the application was actually for. But this map also shows the approximate location of the water course off-site, and then it kind of disappears into the broader wetland area. I don't know if it's because it wasn't picked up or if it's because it kind of loses its main channel. But that was to show that off-site water course and wetland area. So any activity on this plan is under a different permit.
Thank you.
All right, we'll, I guess, be looking at 240903, October, was that 24th? 26th, 24th?
October 24th.
24th, yeah.
Do you think you can have the materials ready for them?
Yeah, I'll have it for you next week.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Purdy.
Thank you. Hopefully you guys finish early, go out and see the Northern Lights tonight.
Northern Lights tonight, yeah. Okay, enforcement activity, cease and correct 240901 and the NOV associated with 9 High Plains Road regarding resulting sedimentation in the pond located on 40 Hickory Hill Lane, continuation of the show cause hearing. Jamie, if I remember correctly, we were waiting for test results. Those test results, I assume, came in?
Yes, so
We can continue with the show cause hearing.
yes. Yeah, so
That was a
the results
condition.
on the identified flocculant recommended for use have been provided. We do have the soil scientist, I believe, present this evening to potentially address any questions or quickly run through what the proposal is, time frame, and when maybe would be a good time to come back and discuss status and where things are with meeting the goals. So I can screen share those results. Those results were also sent out via email earlier today, so hopefully commissioners had a chance to take a look at it. I understand it's pretty late if you didn't. But there was some good information in there about just general application of flocculants. So with that said, I guess unless commissioners have any questions for me, I would hand it over to the soil scientist to give a quick overview of the proposal.
So this is George Logan, Remo Ecological Services. Good evening, everyone. Northern Lights. Yes, my wife tells me I got to finish quickly, so I have to tell you quickly what I need to tell you. The update is this. We've had next to no rain, so that's good. We did get the recommendation based on the lab results back from Arizona earlier this week. They did ask me earlier today, I just got back from the field and saw an email from the manufacturer. They need a little bit of additional information, just not to select the flocculant, but how many blocks we need. And so they needed some information regarding, for instance, for them to calculate flows. They wanted a little more information on the volume of the ponds and sort of where the flock logs would go between the 2 ponds and then before the first pond. So that's going to be provided to them. The one question that I still have, I know that there's a pipe and there's a good pipe for this kind of thing between the 2 ponds. I just have to figure out where prior. So if there's a catch basin prior to the small pond, that's good news because we can use the catch basin for us to put the flock logs. If not, we'll just have to figure a way of putting it into the inlet pipe. So that's something that we have to figure out. The information that I sent you basically tells you that this flocculant that is being recommended is basically not toxic to aquatic organisms. So that's the good news. And I think the EPA documentation there basically spells that out. So this is a polymer flocculant. It's an anionic one, not a cationic. That's the problem from the past flocculants. So it doesn't affect aquatic organisms. And if you looked at the SDS sheet, you can see some of the medium lethal doses there and some of the lethal concentrations and the effective concentrations, the 50, the LC50, EC50. And you see the concentrations and they're pretty high. So that's good news. So right now, I think what needs to happen is get the final information to the manufacturer so we can know how many logs we need, get the information to them, and then make the final recommendation, which will include, based on conversations that we've had, what the procedure for monitoring so we can see that it's been effective. And so typically what happens is You do it for a storm or two with the logs in place. Usually you want to go for a storm that's more than a half inch, if possible. So there is enough flow going through that might be resuspending some of the materials we want to take care of. And we do turbidity testing coming in and turbidity testing going out. So at this point, we would do it coming in, midpoint, and coming out of the pond, which is kind of pretty close to what I did with the baseline information that we got the first time that we gave to you. So that's kind of where we're at. So by the next meeting, which is when, Jamie?
The next meeting is October 24th.
October 24th. I think I will have the final write-up on this.
This Commissioner Bassman, on your letter, Mr. Logan, you said a half inch, and you repeated that this evening. I guess who's responsible for determining that, sufficient rain fell to meet that minimum requirement?
Very good question. What I would recommend, and I have them in my stockpile, is rain gauges. So typically what I do is I look at the information that is given by the weather stations, that sometimes they give us estimates. If you go into the NOAA data, give you estimates, they think it's going to be a half inch or an inch or something like that. So if we know it's coming, then that's what we have to go by. But it's always good to have a rain gauge around. So I will give one to our client and he can put it over up the street and on the house. So we can have what we think gets us there, but then the actual physical data.
And as a follow-up to that same question, Commissioner Basserman, how soon after, I know it says immediately, but how soon after the rain event does the calculation need to be determined?
Basically, you either do it during the event, if it's a big one, or just at the tail end of it, so you still have flow. My experience with this stuff is that you see the water coming in and it's visibly dirty, and you see the water leaving and it's visibly clean, or at least where it falls down to the pond. So that will be a visual thing that hopefully we'll be able to see. I've seen it before, so that's my hope. But also the turbidity testing is important. So we have a turbidity meter, and we can employ it at the site.
And again, a follow-up then. After the rain event, doesn't it take some time for the turbidity to occur?
That is also correct. So we don't know exactly the dynamics of this pond and how it will respond. I haven't been there to see it when it's actually happening. When I did the testing, obviously there was had been some resuspension, so I was able to do the testing, and it was obvious that we had a problem. Especially on the upper end. So I think the first storm that we will be able to observe will give us kind of an indication of how the system responds. Again, we don't have a large watershed based on. And by the way, Jamie, I don't know if you send me that little graphic that you had from the GIS. If you email that to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Be helpful for the folks that are asking me. But that's the idea. We have to observe it to see how it responds. So we don't know the actual dynamics of the system. My guess is small watershed, it will be flashy. It will be pretty quick. Gotcha. So there's not a time of concentration, as they say, as the engineers say, would be pretty fast.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Jamie, have you had the opportunity to revisit the site since the sod has been put down?
Yeah, Jamie Frederick in the Wetland agent. I was out there, I want to say last week, with the property owner out at 9 High Plains. They were putting down the last of the sod, and the initial sod that was placed up front and along the hillside, closest to the pond, was taking pretty well. They'd mowed it already. They were raking it. I kind of, felt around and it seemed like it rooted, so that was good. And they were looking to place sod where the erosion controls were. I told them that it looked like the initial sodding had taken well enough that they could do that. I recommended they staple the sod just to make sure there was no issue with it potentially moving, and that they keep the erosion controls on hand in case we had like a storm event or something, so that if they needed them, they would be available. So I've not been back out since that meeting, but things were looking really good at that time.
Do you feel at this time, Jamie, based on what you've seen, that the site is stable or almost stable?
Yes.
Okay. Now, my question, Mr. Logan, my question, we would have never had this situation if the property owner didn't redo his lawn. And since there has been a new lawn planted, do you think any future problems, based on what has been transpiring over the years, there was a lawn prior to, then no lawn, then we had a situation, now we have a lawn. Do you think with the new lawn, we won't have any continuating problems
Oh, that's the
based
idea.
on past experiences?
Yeah, George Logan, yes. I mean, if we stabilize the site, if it's truly vegetated and stable, we shouldn't have any more problems. I mean, the problem was there was a little bit of a freak storm and caught people unaware, and what happened. So if the site is stabilized now, especially, I think the idea is that they're slowly stabilizing the front so that that's the closest to the inlet to, where the water comes out. And then, of course, they're going to continue stabilizing the rest of the site. And I haven't been there, so I'm just relying on Jamie and her expertise to look at it. And I'm sure if there was a problem, we would have heard about it. So I think we're in a good trajectory for final civilization of the site. At least that's what
we're in a good position right now, is what you're saying. And do you feel the property owner's taken all the proper steps to correct the situation and make his neighbor happy?
I believe so. I think he's gone over and above, honestly.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm sorry, this is
Sod
Tom.
is very expensive, and so.
Yeah, we are 100% sod at 31,500 square feet of sod. 100% done.
Great. Other questions from the commission for Mr. Logan? So if I understand, this Commissioner Basserman, if I understand correctly, you feel that the 2 weeks will give you sufficient time to get the additional information that you're looking for?
yes.
Okay. So we will revisit CISA Correct 240901 9 High Plains Road on October 24th.
Yes.
Next up, CISA Correct 240902 170 182 Leeds Island Road, clearing and earth disturbance without a permit. This is a continuation of the show cause hearing. Jamie, any update?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yeah, so I believe the property owner is on the call this evening as well as his representation. I know that he has been looking to hire a soil scientist. I'm not entirely sure where he is in that process, so I think I would hand it over to them to maybe give an update on where they are with that, unless the commission wants me to go over a quick overview of the order first. We haven't really dived into it yet because the property owner hasn't been at the meeting.
That would be helpful.
This Commissioner Bassman, why don't you post the CISA Correct so that everybody's on the same page?
Sure. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. All right. So hopefully everyone can see the order. Essentially, it came to my attention that there'd been some clearing of the site. The site was recently on the market and we had a lot of people stopping in and asking questions about the property. So I was aware that there were wetlands, based on information that we had in our files and that had been filed on the land records. So I drafted a cease and correct order as looking to establish contact with the property owner, and with the intent to make sure that there was no additional activity and that they reached out to kind of touch base with us on what it is that they're doing and what kind of approvals they might need, and to confirm the extent of the activity relative to the wetlands on site. So in my opinion, excuse me, the first step was for him to contact the office, which he did. And the second step is to schedule an on-site meeting and have a soil scientist conduct an investigation. And I wanted that investigation to relate to the wetlands on site, but also kind of the wetlands that were delineated on the map that we have on record. And then make any recommendations should there be any activity within the wetland itself, and or to ensure that there was no erosion. So I will see. So can everyone see the map right now?
Yep.
Yep.
So Lease Island Road is down at the bottom of the screen. And then pretty much the first 120-ish feet of the site were flagged as inland wetlands. If I just zoom in a little bit, you can probably see it a little bit better. Limits of wetlands, see note 7. Wetlands field delineated by James Cohen of Environmental Planning Services, LLC on April 19th through 28th, and field located by Godfrey Hoffman Associates, LLC. And the map is dated, forget. May 16th, 2016. And then these were the photos that I took from offsite. They're not great photos because I don't have a huge arm, but you can see that there's some clearing and it appears to be closer than that 120-foot distance, which is part of the reason why I decided to issue a cease and correct order instead of starting with a notice of violation. And so, as I've said, I've heard from the property owner. I know that they're here to talk with the commission this evening. Just for reference, I don't know if the poles have changed since 2016, but my best guess would be that this pole here is this pole on the site plan or the survey. So the area of more extensive clearing appears to be located further away from the wetland. Any questions for me before we hand it over to the property owner?
Nope. Who wants to speak first?
May I, is it time for me to begin? Just, I'm.
You have the floor.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I'm attorney Janet Brooks, and I represent Richard Onofrio, the orderee. I've been brought on last week, and our first job was after speaking to the client and hearing that he has some plans of agricultural projects. I walked him through the agricultural exemption, the determination process, and anything that wouldn't fall within that would go through a permitting process. We have confirmed, I spoke with staff this morning, and at that point we did not have a soil scientist, and I've asked George Logan to stay on because he is confirmed, has been retained, and he will be doing the soil delineation and current site conditions next Wednesday. And our goal is asking for confirmation from George that the report will be in and available for your next wetlands meeting. And I mean, you are free to inspect prior to the flagging of the wetlands. Perhaps you want to see it after it's flagged, but that's however you wish. And I believe that Mr. Onofrio has a few comments he would like to make, so I ask him to speak at this time.
Sure. How you doing? My name is Rick Onofrio, and first time to the meeting. I know we missed each other a couple of times. There was some problems where the address for the initial mail, so I apologize for that. So basically, if anyone has any questions for me, I know we're going to be awaiting for the evaluation of what goes on there, but just a little bit of background is that the property there, although it's in an LLC name, that was just for business related things when purchasing it for liability things. I'm not a developer. My parents, I grew up on the property right behind it. I lived in Branford my whole life, went to school, high school, everything there. And so it's contiguous to my parents' property. And when we heard it was going to be, it went for sale, I wanted to basically protect it. And I didn't want the 3 houses or 4 houses that others were proposing or were anticipating to get in there. We didn't want that. So, the activities that I've done so far has just been really making it more, making it more healthy, because it was overgrown for a while. It was all farmland originally. It's been like that for a long time. They used to graze it for hay. And there's some specific variables on the site too that we're going to be looking at. Then I'll have some more information for you next time we meet. But yeah, my end goal really is to keep it pristine right now as it is. We thinned it out a little bit with some of the dead wood, and as you know, the old species of wood that have succumbed to disease and things of that. But my end goal would be I basically wanted to get into some farming strategies on there, and I don't have any plans in the foreseeable future to develop the land at all. So.
And I would ask Mr. Logan just to confirm availability and time in order to produce the report for the next wetlands meeting.
Well, it appears that I'll be producing 2 reports for the commission. We've already discussed the first one. So yes, the commitment was for me to be out at the site next Wednesday, sometime in the late morning, to do the delineation and to do my initial investigation. At that point, I'm sure we're going to have discussions internally about what I'm looking at and what needs to be done. And then I'll have a report probably no later than the beginning of the week. That's probably the best that I can do as far as the 24th is concerned, to get something to Jamie 48 hours or a little more than that before the meeting. And then I can certainly discuss it with the commission when we get together again.
Attorney Brooks, is it the anticipated intent that this might find its way to an application?
I think most likely some determination for exemption. So under your Section 4 activities. But until I know what all the activities are, and until I know exactly where the wetlands are and the upland review area, I'm not sure what else will be left over and will trigger permit review. So I think definitely a farming exemption determination, and I'm not sure about a permit.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. Can I ask the property owner a question, Mr. Onofrio?
Sure.
Your intention said you want to do some farming there, right? I happen to know your family. I'm a Branford boy myself.
Yeah.
So, how much of the land did you plan on cultivating for farming? Did you have an idea yet?
Well, I mean, the majority of it for now, I mean, because I'm looking at it as it's less than 3 acres over there.
Okay.
And I was always aware of that there was some drainage, natural drainage that occurred there. My parents' property, they have it all piped underneath the driveway, and it's piped to the next of the whole front lawn of the next house as well. But I mean, it's for my initial intent for the farming would be, I have a lot of maple trees there, so and they're small because it was overcrowded and it's relatively young because at one point it was all farm and it was wide open. So there was a lot of really tall but really skinny trees. A lot of them were competing and dying, and not really doing well. So, which is the reason I thinned some of it out. Not very, nothing tremendously, to no extent was it clear cut, but I think the majority of that would be used to do that, especially the size of the current trees there now. They're not huge as far as
Okay.
diameter.
So what you're looking to plant forestry there, grow trees though, or
No, the maple syrup.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that would be my first thing to begin on, because it's we have close family friends that are that have been farmers in actually East Haven. There's an old timer that's still doing it, 87 years old. So I do have a passion for that, and that was my plan, that I would maintain it until a time where there was a need for something else.
So you're looking to maintain those maple trees that are currently on the property, to cultivate them, to have them produce a syrup.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission? Look forward to your reports, Mr. Logan.
Thank you.
I'll just add real quick, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, that our application form and our jurisdictional request forms are both on the website, but I can also forward them to you via email so you have those available for reference.
Thank you.
You.
Would you find it helpful if I first sent you an email so you have an email to respond
Yeah,
to?
if you want to, whoever you like, if you want to do a little group email of whoever you want to have the information from your side, that would be great.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, cease and correct 240903, 20 Huntington Drive. Grading and vegetation removal with the understory within 100 feet of the wetland. Again, a continuation of a show cause hearing. Jamie, can you help orient us on this cease and correct?
All right, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So at the last meeting, the commission wanted an erosion control inspection by a particular date, or staff start the citation process. I did an erosion control inspection. The erosion controls were 95% where I wanted them to be. So I didn't start the citation process. I did meet with the property owner out there to go over kind of what was kind of being looked for as far as removal of dirt and piled woody debris against trees. And then I also met with his contractor regarding seeding of the area and also the movement of that material. So there's been quite a bit. We've also received an application for what the property owner wants to do with that area, to kind of restore and stabilize it. So what I might suggest is that we table this item and maybe start review of until after review of the application, just to later in this evening. And then maybe you guys can review the application and see what your thoughts are in regards to the cease and correct order.
Any commissioner have an issue with that process? Hearing silence, we'll move along.
Okay, so it's tabled till after the application, which is item 4B.
Correct. So before 4B, we have 4A, Inland Wetland 241001, 1 to 139 Bay Path Way Island View condos, replacement of a PVC drainage pipe with a concrete drainage pipe.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, this application is just for receipt. We are waiting on authorization from the other property owner. I would encourage commissioners, if they have a chance to look at it before the next meeting, to do so, as the application is submitted due to necessary repairs that need to be made. So I think, as we can keep the process moving contingent upon the owner authorization being received, that would be good.
Jamie, this is Commissioner Boda, off of Brushy Plains Road.
Yes.
Is this connected to Pine Gutter Brook?
It ultimately discharges there. Yeah. There's a GIS map in there. I don't want to get too much into it because, like I said, we don't have all the authorization and we don't usually review things. But
the name was like pinging bells, but a lot of street names in town do that.
The commission had an application for the other association on the same property 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Okay. 4B, inland wetland 241002, 20 Huntington Drive, clearing, grading, and replanting.
All right. Jamie Frederick, inland wetland agent. This application is for receipt. It was received after our typical cutoff for review, but I think given the circumstances and ideally I would like to see the site stabilized this fall seeding season if possible. I was looking for the commission to start review and see if the commission was okay with me reviewing the application administratively. So let me open the application rather than the cease and correct order. And we do have the property owner on the phone call or the Zoom meeting. So if you have any questions from him, certainly we can ask. And also if we want to hand it over for him to add anything, we can do that as well. So I'm going to jump down to the site plan. Actually, so this area probably looks familiar because we were talking about the site next door earlier this evening. So the subject site is 20 Huntington Drive. And the area of concern is the area to the rear of the property was recently cleared of understory vegetation to a bare dirt condition. So we're looking to get that stabilized. There was also material that was piled along the rear property line from previous activity on site that wasn't exactly clear if it had been added to or not. So as part of this cease and correct order, the commission was asking that that material be pulled away from the trees, given that it's not a healthy condition for trees to survive. And, we don't want to be back in the same spot a couple of years from now because all the trees are dying. So the application, the disturbed areas are the areas that are red and blue. Those are the areas where it's kind of a bare dirt condition. The brown is showing the piled dirt and woody debris to be moved. The proposal, as I understand, is to move that material kind of over to the corner of the site, further away from the wetland area, which is not on the site on the survey, but we do have a wetland delineation, and the wetland has conservation markers around it, so it's staked out in the field. Over to this portion of the site, and then he's proposing a conservation seed mix where in the area closer to the wetland, this would be the area that would drain towards the wetland, and then in the area that is a bit further away and doesn't drain to that wetland area, they're proposing a turf mix. And then there's 2 trees of varying, this one's dead, this one's not healthy, that the property owner is looking to remove. And we were provided with a very brief narrative outlining all of that. Oh, and then the other thing that he wanted to do was, sorry to be scrolling around on you, is put in a privacy fence, which is at the dashed green line. And I
Amy, Commissioner Boda, where did you say the wetland line was?
Let me see.
Maybe what's the distance to the?
So in the
proposed
field, I
fence?
measured the closest distance from the area of disturbance to the closest sign, and it was about 30 feet. But a majority of it's further.
Say the closest sign, is that what you said?
The closest, so the signs were placed where the wetland flags, so the closest wetland flag, essentially. Basically, the property owner previously was required to place conservation signs at the wetland edge.
And the tree to be removed, is that in the conservation area?
No. So the conservation area isn't, it is really just marking the wetland on site. The tree is located, the closest tree is located approximately right here. And I would guess it's 70 or more feet away from the wetland. It's not providing any direct shade to the wetland. It doesn't have any canopy. It's literally just standing, and it's separate from the rest of the canopy. So it's, to me, that tree's not really providing much relative to the wetland. And it is kind of close to the pool, so it seems reasonable.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, can you pull up that red and blue map?
Yeah. Oops, sorry, this is the wetland report.
The blue area, does that entire blue area drain in one direction?
I suppose a small portion of this upper area would drain down to the conservation mix. I did acknowledge that it made sense to me that it would be lawn here. It mostly is lawn already. And there is a pool equipment shed here. It was recently rebuilt, so the application does include the replacement of it, but it's on an pre-existing foundation. And it seems reasonable to be able to get into the shed without having to walk through conservation mix or conservation, area.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's not conservation as in restricted conservation, but conservation seed mix. Is everyone seeing this? I'm just realizing it doesn't say screen share.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So in the, I don't know, the blue parallelogram size, where does that drain to?
It drains kind of southerly off-site, ultimately to the neighbor's property. So I don't think I have, it drains down into this lawn area and towards. Essentially, I think this is Mark's Court down here.
This is Commissioner Boda. Is that conservation mix? Is that, is the intention that it's that it's mowed less frequently? What is, I don't understand the purpose of that.
So I had talked with the property owner about, so this application was submitted in response to the cease and correct order that was issued. And it was a wooded area, and it was predominantly mugwort from the last time I was out there. So it wasn't an ideal ground cover, but it was ideal in the sense that it was stabilizing the soil. So I suggested that it might be easier to get approval for a conservation, more natural ground cover in that area than to establish lawn.
But would the intention be that it's mowed like once a year, twice a year?
So one of the things I've requested clarification on that I have not received yet is the maintenance of it. So the mowing frequency, the mowing height. But yes, the intention with the conservation seed mix would be that you would only be mowing it to encourage it to maintain as a meadow type mix rather than become invasive multiflora rose or something like that. It wasn't woody vegetation that was removed. I have been on site quite a bit over the last couple of years, and it was predominantly mugwort. So I think a conservation mix is a fair replacement for what was removed.
Are you thinking that they would also need to monitor and remove invasives like mugwort or garlic mustard? I mean,
honestly, mugwort would be my biggest concern, but when I was out there, I wasn't seeing a whole lot of it. There's definitely some still on site, but there's also a lot of like aster and native vegetation closer to the wetland. They did put a conservation mix over there, and it seemed to be doing really well. So I mean, they are also monitoring over by the wetland for 5 years. So if you wanted monitoring of this area as well for, maybe 3 years because it's a little bit further away from the wetland, and that way the timing overlaps. I don't think that would be too.
This is Commissioner Boda.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it would be fine as an agent approval to get to get things moving while there's some growing season left. The week or two that's left.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed the end there.
Just the very short time of growing season that remains.
Yeah, I know that they were looking to order the seed mix. They sent me over one, and I suggested that they switch it to a mix with more natives. And I got a response back today that mix is available and that's what they're planning to go with. So,
this is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, with an agent approval, do you intend to put a Fisher cut bait down date for that mix to be seeded?
I think that they're just waiting for approval to get going. Like I know that the contractor is lined up ready to go upon receipt of material and a permit. So, but yeah, and I've already stressed, like, I really want this to happen this fall growing season. So yeah, I mean,
I would prefer if you were able to put a date in, because growing season may not be a exact period.
I'm a little bit hesitant to tie the two together because obviously I'm not issuing a permit right now. But you could okay me to review the permit, and then in the cease and correct order, you could potentially continue it to the next meeting and require an update on stabilization at that meeting, which would provide a deadline of, or you could do the November 14th meeting if you want to just make sure that it's not coming back twice. I know we have the public hearing on November 14th, and honestly, I think they'll be done within the next 2 weeks, and it sounds like the property owner has potential information to help us on that.
Don't we have a meeting before the November meeting?
October 24th.
Yeah. So why wouldn't we do that by October? I mean, 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I think the best option here is the property owner has his hand raised. Let's ask him. Assuming that I get that information on the seed mix or the mowing maintenance of the conservation mix, and I'm able to process the permit application, do you anticipate that the work can be completed prior to the October 24th meeting?
Hey, hey guys, how are you? So yes, I spoke with the contractor today. So he's gotten the trunks, cleaned up, got the area. So actually, even that green line that I was indicating, I don't even need the privacy fence anymore because he made the tree line look, it looks very nice actually now. And he freed up all the trees. But he did tell me today, he called me at the end of the day, he said that the conservation mix that you guys require, he can get right away. And that, and actually that if he got the green light, he could actually have it all finished up by tomorrow or Saturday. So, he was just waiting for you guys. So that's why, because you guys were saying about the deadlines, but he could literally get it done within 2 days. As he has the availability and he can get the seed mix. So, for what we're proposing.
Okay, so I think at this point, we're back on the cease and correct order item. Is that fair to say?
Sure.
And is it fair to say the commission is continuing it to the October 24th meeting with an update on site stabilization to be provided at that meeting?
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I have a question. The property owner just said that his contractor is able to get this work done relatively very quickly prior to our next meeting. I'd like to propose to the commission to allow Jamie to just check it out after the fact, because I think we can just, the way it looks with the way the property owner is saying, that we could actually have it off our calendar or our schedule by the next meeting if they're willing to do what needs to get done. They just need the okay to do it, and that's the scenario right now.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Bassett. I'm okay with the agent approval at this point because of the need to stabilize this site. And it sounds like all systems go, and we can hopefully see the result at the next meeting. Does anybody not feel comfortable with agent approval?
Application. Oh. All right, so application is okay for agent approval. And then moving back to the cease and correct order 240903. Does the commission want to continue that show cause hearing to the October 24th meeting to confirm that the activity for site stabilization has been completed and to see if there's anything else that needs to be done, such as monitoring or anything like that? Or is the commission...
Commissioner Goklowski, I think at this stage of the game, if we're going to leave the application approval to the agent, I'm very comfortable with leaving Jamie's judgment to say whether the site has been stabilized, and just give us a quick report at our next meeting. It sounds like, I hate to say a simple situation, but it's a situation that the property owner is willing to take care of before the planting season expires, which is right around the corner.
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and Wetlands.
Don't our regulations say though that we have to rule on the cease and correct?
Yeah, so right now
modify it, continue it.
The show cause is still, hearing is still open. So either a decision needs to be made this evening on the cease and correct order, or it needs to be continued to a date. So I would be very hesitant. And I guess the reason why I'm suggesting continuing it to October 24th is because no permit has been issued yet. So we can't say contingent upon the permit or anything like that because it doesn't exist. So
this is Commissioner Papantonio. So are you saying that we could move it to the November meeting? Would that be better, Jamie?
And I think we'd be able to have an update for October 24th. And I think October 24th is better because we don't have a public hearing scheduled that meeting, whereas we do for the November 14th. Alternatively, we could hold it over until the spring, but that seems like a really long time to have a show cause hearing open. If you wanted to confirm like germination or something like that, but
this is Commissioner Bassett. I think we've approved the the application for agent approval, and I think the continuation to the next meeting, given the fact that the contractor is ready to roll on this. And from a wetland standpoint, we like to stabilize the site quickly. And so that I make, I guess, a motion that we continue it until the October 24th meeting. And Jamie can provide an update at that point in time, whether the work has been done satisfactorily or if there are any outstanding issues. And we'll deal with the cease and correct at that time.
This is Commissioner Boda, second.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Do we have to take a vote on that, Jamie?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Gokowski.
Commissioner Gokowski, aye.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Armrod.
Commissioner Ormrod, aye.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Papatonis.
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Meinson.
Commissioner Meinson, aye.
Okay,
All right, so I'll follow up with the property owner on that.
great. And now for our annual chestnut. The annual meeting scheduled for 2025. There was a survey sent out looking to see where everyone sits regarding the schedule for 2025. We had an interesting year in 2024 of 2 meetings a month. Jamie, can you share the results of that survey?
Yes, 1 minute. Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agents, we had a pretty split vote out of the responses we received. Although somewhat surprisingly, we got twice a month as the highest response for number of meetings. It is a lot, but I do think it's beneficial to the public, and it's beneficial from an application receipt standpoint. I think that there's still room to learn about scheduling and tabling to maximize the commission's time, or minimize the commission's time. And then as far as remote and in person, I'm always going to throw this question out at you guys every year because I think it's worth reflecting on. Statutorily, we're allowed to meet remotely now. We occasionally get people asking, what, you're not meeting in person. So I think just to keep things fair and open, it's always good to reflect on it. There's certainly pros and cons to both formats. It's easy for everyone to join remotely. If you're not in Branford, you could still attend the meeting. I think there's a lot more dead space in remote meetings, so I think that kind of doesn't help with meeting length per se, because you're not necessarily seeing everyone and who's reacting to what. There's a lot of, communication that you get in an in-person meeting that you don't necessarily get at a remote meeting, that I think just gives you cues as to like, okay, now's a good time to talk. So that's my 2 cents. I'll take a step back and let you guys discuss.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Question, Jamie, do you know if the firehouse has changed their technology, video technology, such that if one were to screen share in the firehouse, can the public see that?
Okay,
Or,
so first of all, the firehouse is not going to be available for the foreseeable future because there's renovations which have relocated some offices temporarily to the meeting room at the firehouse. So if we were to meet in person, we would be meeting at the community center. Either way, whether we meet in person or remotely, we will have the room booked at the community center. So if we have a public hearing or something where the commission wants to meet in person, we will have that option. But any meetings next year,
I guess to that point, Jamie, if we meet at the community house, because we decide whatever the nature of that application is that has then a public hearing associated with it. When we met previously, the boards were facing the commission, obviously, and the public didn't see all the information as presented to the commission. Is the community house set up video-wise such that the public can see the same thing that the applicant is demonstrating to the commission?
I honestly do not know the answer to that.
I guess that would be helpful to know.
I think it would be
were to
an
decide
easel
to have
type format like we used to have if we were to meet at the community center.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I think it would be an easel type format, with paper plans rather than a screen.
This is
Sure.
Commissioner Boda. I think to Chairman Basserman's point, I think that this format allows everybody to see what's happening, whereas in in-person meetings, it was very difficult for the public to see what was being presented on those easels. And even with all of the material that we have, it is significantly easier to open the Dropbox, open a document, and do a quick find for the things that's necessary, as opposed to literally dragging in 10 to 30 pounds worth of materials to the meetings. And I'm sure we could use our computers now, but I don't know. I don't see having site plans and laptops and an easel. It just, I don't know. And truthfully, I know I've attended meetings that I couldn't have attended because, like you said, I was on vacation and was able to jump in at a meeting, whether in Pennsylvania or in New Hampshire. And I certainly personally wouldn't be able, none of us could do that, right? If we were meeting in person. I think this format is helpful. We sometimes run really, really late, and I won't speak for anybody else, but I have a new schedule. I'm up at 4:30, so I'm done at 9:30. And if we're having these meetings that run late, that means leaving an in-person meeting at 9:15. I don't know. I would be loath to go back to finishing a late meeting and then still having to drive home.
This is Commissioner Bassman, and without the ability for the public to get the same impact of information that somebody is trying to demonstrate, I think, in my mind, you have to lean to the remote meetings, because clearly, to me, that outweighs just the nature of in-person, the fact that the information is truly shared equally in a remote setting that would not be true in an in-person, with the setup that we would be engaged in that format.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I think the meetings are more controlled with a remote setup than they are in a public setting, whether the firehouse or the community center. I mean, I've attended town meetings in the past, whether it be inland, whether it was planning and zoning, or a selectmen's meeting, or any of those, or an RTM meeting. They tend to sometimes get out of, I hate to use the term out of hand, but they get sidetracked. And at least under this situation, or it's a more controlled scenario. And I'm very comfortable with the Zoom, and it's actually very convenient for me, because today I was traveling. I was in Southbury and Norwalk, and I just got home 10 minutes before the meeting started. So I was very lucky. I still have my band clothes on. So.
Any other items? I know the schedule was 2 versus 1. Does anybody feel strongly on the 1 meeting a month? What else, Jamie, on the schedule?
IW Associate Katie Blanchett. I just have a question because it seems like, the majority of the people want to stay remote. So to that end, is there something that we as staff could do to help make these meetings easier and have more of a flow? Or are you all happy with how it's going?
This is Commissioner Gokowski. I have to say, I'm very impressed the way both you and Jamie make sure all the commission, at least I get my information um, in a very timely manner. As long as if I don't respond in a timely manner, it's not your fault. But uh, the information comes and it's always up to date. So I appreciate it.
This is Commissioner Bass, but I think the staff reports help immensely. When we get into having to deliberate, having a document that A, you can read ahead of time, and B, in the kind of text format laid out, pretty straightforward, and it's got a nice flow to it. So I think the staff report is fundamentally advantageous to keep the meetings going.
This is Commissioner Boda. I agree with both of those comments. I think one thing, and I don't know if this would be cumbersome, but especially we have another public hearing coming and I'm sure there's going to be many, many, many documents associated with that. And there is a running document that you keep that lists the exhibit items. And I know that they're also in the Dropbox, but sometimes because of the naming scheme and when things are put in, it's not necessarily it can't be in the file in the same folder that it's in, the same order that it's in the exhibit document. And what I'm wondering is if it's overly cumbersome, if you could link what it says the exhibit document is to the actual exhibit document, so that I know for Google Docs that works pretty seamlessly. I'm not sure you're living, I think, in the Microsoft ecosystem, but that way, as I'm looking through the exhibit docs, if I know I want to somebody's referring to a specific exhibit, I can go in that exhibit doc and things are linked. I don't know if that is.
I get what you're looking for. I'm not sure how easy it'll be to implement because we move the folder to a new folder for each meeting. So it would break the link every meeting, or we would have to have it outside of the folder for that meeting. Can you not sort? I know that your view of it's different because you're not an admin, if you will, of the Dropbox. Can you not sort it by number? Because I try and number them.
No, I mean you can sort it. You can sort it by the name, by the file name, and by date. And so I just know sometimes, especially with the when there are a million exhibits, it can get really confusing, the materials that are in the Dropbox versus the exhibit list is, I think the names must be the same. It might be easier to maybe we have a separate conversation. I can show you what I mean, where I'm getting a little bit I want to find a specific thing and
sure. Yeah, if you want to contact the office, we can look at making that work better for you.
Yeah, maybe if I understood the naming, the nomenclature process, that might make it a little easier.
I think we've also had a little bit of a learning curve, so I'm hoping we've gotten better at it. But if you can help us get even better, that would be great.
This is Commissioner Bassman. One thing that I'd like to add, I guess, is, there's various conferences associated with wetlands and environmental science. And when a commissioner goes, I think it would be good on the agenda to have that individual who went kind of give a 2-minute, a 3-minute summary of what they learned, if you will, at that conference, so the rest of us can, kind of share in the knowledge as we, continue to get more experience as commissioners.
I think it's a great idea.
All right, so
To that end, this is Commissioner Boda. I will encourage every person to go outside this evening. There is quite a spectacular show happening.
I think wait, did we make a motion on whether or not to accept the meeting schedule as sent out?
I will make a motion that we accept the meeting agenda proposal for the year 2025.
Commissioner Goklowski, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody have the guts to say no? Okay, I think we're done. 8:30. We got lots of time to look at the sky tonight.
Just to confirm, it seemed like there was a pretty strong unanimous to continue your meeting remotely.
Yeah.
Just get a general consensus on that real quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm seeing everyone nod their heads. Yes.
We're not going down.
So that gets us to the end of our
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye. Okay. Good sky watching.
Good night.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.